Okay, hello? Hello, hello. Hello, everybody. Let me just, set things up and compose myself. But anyways, welcome. Welcome, everybody. Oh yeah, I'm still gonna be doing the Pokemon shenanigans. I already colored the characters, so all we need to do is like the effects and stuff. But before we finish this illustration, I'm just gonna talk about, ramble a little bit on how I draw, color, and pretty much render effects, specifically water type or water effects. So I'm gonna spend a few minutes in that one, and we can, once that's done, we can do this, or finally render the effects for here. I already draw it out, or got it drawn, around the sketch session that we had, I think. And the only thing left for this is pretty much coloring and rendering. But before that, I'm gonna ramble about uh how I draw them first off. Let me just take a minute to kind of wake myself up. I kind of woke up late. I got a bad sleeping habit recently. But anyways, welcome. Hopefully my audio is all good. Music isn't too loud. I don't think my music is even playing. Let's see. Man, OBS doesn't display audio very well. Oh, hold up. Someone's calling me. BRB. Okay, I'm back. Oh, and if you guys are wondering if I'm gonna re-upload mods or whatever, don't worry. In case you missed out on the stream, I'll be re-uploading the mods, or the mods it's gonna be saved here on Twitch or in my YouTube channel. So no worries if you missed out, or if you want to like roll back and uh rewatch the whole thing. No worries, I'll re-upload it. So, okay, let's get started. Okay, we got two options here on the ways to draw it. Ways to draw the water effects. Basically, we're gonna be starting how to draw them. So, I have two ways to draw. I have two tools. It's either I use a pen or brush, or I just go with a lasso fill tool. So it's either lasso or lasso. I'm actually not sure if the lasso fill tool is available to other programs, maybe Procreate or Medibang or other art programs, basically. But the lasso is pretty much available to most art programs, so you're not gonna miss out on that part. It's not as convenient as this one, where you basically just draw out a selection and then it'll automatically fill out. The lasso is just a basic selection tool. You need to fill it out manually, so it's a little bit of a hassle, but it works just as fine. But I also use a G pen, or basically any sort of brush reference that you have. So mine is like a G pen, which is has a wide range basically. It's not textured. It's pretty much basic as it can get. It's like a circle, circle tip, but the size is pretty dynamic. I think this is the max thickness they can do. So that's what we need, because when it comes to shapes, I need a better writing brush. It'll be essential to making shapes for the effects. So basically, when it comes to water, there's like only two types, honestly. Water can be very curvy. Hold up, let me draw a silhouette. You know, pretty much like a blob. Or it can be very sharp. As you can see, pretty much the size dynamic is very helpful for us, because we need size variety when it comes to drawing effects, because effects is pretty much it's chaotic basically. It's kind of messy, but at the same time it's very uniform to the point that it makes sense. So yeah, you can see me using the brush and also the lasso. The lasso is probably works best when it comes to big shapes. Working with big shapes, but it's not as precise as or much more controlled compared to a brush. So it's really up to you on which is your preference. Now, talking about shapes and sizes, let's go back to that. You can see me mixing a bit of big shapes, medium shapes, and little bits of pieces here and there. We need that variety, pretty much. So in that way, it's not too uniform. Because if it's too uniform, or basically if you only have like the same size and same shapes, then it doesn't look like it doesn't look like it's in motion. It's pretty static. A big one over here. And you can have like a larger scale to it. Basically, you can go to teeny tiniest way that you can pretty much go. There we go. But how do you do that when it comes to spiky ones like this one? Which is a great question. It pretty much kinda uses the same principle. You can pretty much see it on this example. Big spike over here. Medium ones over here. And little ones flying around. You can also have a medium one that is detached to it. Oh, and another thing to note when it comes to spiky ones, or basically dealing with any effects, I think this is pretty much applicable to most effects. Maybe a little bit of exception when it comes to solid effects like dirt or rocks or whatever. You need to be mindful of the direction that it's going. Like for example, this one. It's curving to this type of path, but the spikes are going away from it. It's kind of like push and pull. It's pushing this way, but the effects are getting pulled this way. But how do you do that too when it comes to the curvy stuff? And I guess it also indicates their speed. If it's a little blobby, then it's probably going to a much more slow motion. While the spiky ones are in a much more faster motion. Which pretty much, I guess that makes no sense for me. But you can also try to mix them both. As you can see, this has a curve and that has a spike. It's really just dependent on like how it indicates speed. Or how it is interpreted on the illustration, pretty much. Here, let's add a little bit more bits and pieces. This is also following the direction. So you gotta make sure it's a... Yes, it is chaotic, but at the same time, it's still somewhat following a certain direction to it. That way, yes, it is chaotic, but at the same time, it's coherent. You can also make strings. Something like that. Like it that way. So right now it's very flat, but we're just dealing with the shapes from now on. Or at the moment. So we're gonna be much more concerned with the silhouette. And next... I mean, when it comes to blobs, not really a lot of, pretty much dependent on what kind of direction you're going with here. And again, we're talking about liquid, so the shapes are pretty much super random. And pretty much depends on you and how you're going to draw them. But if I have to break it down into two simple categories, it's either one that is spiky and going fast, and one that is much more blobbish or roundish. It indicates that it's going slow. Oh yeah, you gotta place... I kind of placed them randomly. You know, these individual pieces right here. I tend to place them kind of randomly. You don't want to place them, you know, all at the same parts, or to the point that it's kind of getting repetitive. You kind of want them to, like, spread out. And at the same time, you're gonna have to make their sizes also varied. Because if it's too uniform, again, it's just gonna look so static and not that organic, really. So basically, it doesn't look natural. So you want it to be placed randomly, somewhat. But at the same time, keep that size variety. And I think that's pretty much it when it comes to the shapes. The shapes are super... again, I kind of break the shapes down into two simple categories. Oh yeah, we're also just talking about water, the liquid one. But we're not gonna talk about, you know, other subcategories of water, I guess, like ice or vapor, certain things like that. That's... we're not gonna count that. That's more like... vapor is more inclined with smoke, and, you know, ice is much more solid, so For VFX, it's important to be mindful of the negative space as well, right? I have heard that they use to lead the direction as well, as you mentioned. I don't know. There are other properties. Oh yeah, you can also take that into consideration. Uh, if we're talking about, like, for example, in a canvas, is pretty much your is pretty much your space or your ground, I guess. I guess this is more inclined when it comes to compositing or composition. Basically, how you place them all together. I guess I could use this as a demonstration. Well, I guess we can all pretend that the white space is the empty space. Here, I'm taking a brush and I need to add a new layer because I don't want to mess this illustration up. And you can see how I place the effects. Pretty much the primary focus is all in here. And you can see other bits and tiny pieces are like also somewhere around that. Somewhere around this parts of the space. But there's also ones that are like a little bit further. So in that way, it's spread out. But I'm actually not sure if this is dependent on your preference because sometimes it can look good and it just mostly dependent on like how you execute it. But you don't want it to be too spread out to the point that it's covering the whole canvas. Again, this isn't also exclusive when it comes to illustrating. If the whole space is too crowded and pretty much your eyes doesn't know where to go because there's so many details. And coherency when it comes to coherency is getting blurry and blurry. Basically, you just want things to be clear and you can read it or you can read the illustration very well because everything is placed in a certain manner. But if I were to go crazy with the details and have all bits and pieces flying around, it's just gonna look too crowded to the point that our eyes are gonna be all clogged up. There's so many details spread around, like it just confuses us, right? Like for example, as a viewer, like where do our eyes go? There's so much detail flying around in space. So you kind of want empty spaces because in that way, this is the primary focus. And I guess it's pretty much just contrast, really. Like, as you can see, this is a blank space. And there's nothing really to look at, right? But if we have a subject, let's just make a spiky one. Hold up, let me use the lasso. It's much more faster. Faster for me. And since it's just a black and white illustration, it's much more clearer to see. And with that, we can distinctly see the subject and the negative space. Or the empty space. But if I were to clutter that empty space to the point that there's barely any empty space, others would probably find it okay. But to me, if it's too cluttered, too many details to keep in track of, it's just gonna blend in. Everything is just gonna blend in. Basically, it's losing contrast. So it's kind of losing focus also. Like, where is the subject? Where do we find the main attraction, basically? But I guess this doesn't apply to abstract art, huh? All that sort of thing. But if we make it much more simpler, you just see it right there. So you can make use of contrast as well in that way. And sometimes less is more. Sometimes overdoing it can do more damage. So we just want to uh place them in a certain way to the point that uh it's the it's like placed as the main attraction rather than all spread out throughout the canvas. And again, be mindful of direction. Because that's also helpful to like read or to interpret the illustration. Like for example, oh, it's going this way. And it's basically helping the audience to like how to read the illustration basically. Like for example, if the motion is going like that, then the reader or the audience or the viewer or whatever is gonna read it that way. Oh, look, the water's going that way. And that's why you also kind of want to be mindful of the direction. Like, don't have way too many direction flying around, because that is gonna confuse you and the readers or the viewers as well. Because like, wait, what motion is this? Where is it going? And all that stuff. It just makes it incoherent, basically. So you don't want to confuse yourself. You don't want to confuse the viewers as well. So make sure your direction is in a uniform manner, at least. Like for example, let's try multiple directions. I guess. I guess the maximum uh directions that I can go with are like two, pretty much the cross motion. But even that's still like, this one's going down and this one's, or that one's going up. There is still some parallel direction that they're going with. So despite they're like opposite, like this one is going this way and this one that way, they still have like a common denominator, which is both are still going down. So even though they're crossed, so let me just try to draw that. And we're gonna talk about the rendering once we're done with this. Like that. And that pretty much indicates that it's going down. And this one also. And if you want to like go the opposite direction, the effects are just gonna be upside down like that. Again, it's the push and pull sort of thing. You can also add strings like that. Oh yeah, this is also a lot of organic shapes, so bear with me. So if you don't know, organic shapes are just basically curvy shapes. And organic ones are typically harder to some people because curvier curvier shapes and lines are just much more harder to deal with. Especially on the 3D space. It's much more hard to like picture a sphere or curvy shapes in a 3D manner rather than blocky shapes. Blocky shapes are like, or inorganic shapes, are much more easier to like comprehend because you can pretty much tell their perspective. But if you're like picturing a sphere, like, which is much more harder, basically, like it's much more harder to identify, like, wait, which one is the top side, which one is the bottom one, which one are the sides. It's much more harder basically to identify like it's a perspective. But if it's a cube or like inorganic shapes, much more blockier shapes basically, you know, or straight lines, stuff like that, it's much more easier to find a perspective. But you're probably thinking, oh, what does that have to do with water? Since water is basically an organic shape and it's not uniform, right? Basically, like it's pretty chaotic, you know, wriggly and stuff like that. And water can pretty much take any kinds of form of shape and size and all that stuff. But basically, we still kind of need that sort of skill, basically like identifying. Oh, hold up, let me get a better brush for this. I'm gonna be a little slow, or what do you call this, stuttering, because that's just the thing about me. When it comes to changing brushes all the time, I'm like, I kind of stutter in that way because it kind of takes me off the groove. So make sure you still know what to identify, like what's the front, what's the back, what are the, which side is it, yada yada yada, all that stuff. Because this is important because it can technically help you when it comes to the rendering part. Because the sides, knowing what the sides are, can help you out with lighting, like what I'm doing right now. Here's the highlights. Well, I guess I'm gonna call this the mid-range. And this one are the shadows. The darkest one. That's gonna help us when it comes to the rendering part because we need those shadows, we need those color range basically. Cause in that way, we can make it look less flat, you know what I mean? Because I can just color this blue and call it water and call it a day. But we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that. We kind of needed to be a little bit more obvious that it looks like water. So I guess we're good on the shapes now. I can't really talk about that much on like how do you interpret the size when it comes to water. If we don't go on to the rendering part. Okay, let me just move some stuff so our canvas isn't all over the place not that much. Oh yeah, I'm also gonna talk about other effects. Not in today's stream, but maybe next stream. I'm gonna do fire next. Fire and water are kind of similar. It's kind of weird because you can pretty much draw them the same at the same way, and yeah, the only difference is their color sometimes. Or at least some of this applies to fire. But fire also has its like unique qualities, but more on that on the next stream. For now, let's try to color this and talk about like pretty much the basics on how I color water. So there's two ways. One is the simple flat basic one. And the other one is gonna be much more complex and basically me going all too crazy when it comes to the rendering part. Okay, let's have a copy of this stuff because we want some backups. Do you prefer screenless tablets? Yes, I prefer it that way. Because my experience on screenless tablets are just inherently better. Okay, we need 3 colors. 3 colors. One for the flat or... Oh, that's clipped. Do that. One for our middle color. Basically our base color. One is for our shadow. Basically a much more darker color. And I don't know if you catch that, but here. Once I get my base color, or I get to decide on a base color, I basically move here in the color wheel, leaning more to the purple, and then put this down further, and you get your shadow. You don't want to do like a here. You don't. Well, I guess this depends on your style, but it's gonna look muddy in my opinion. So if you pick up your base color and you just, you know, move your color wheel to something much more darker, it kind of looks muted or a little bit muddy, so that's why I kind of don't do this. If I want to keep the saturation, I would just move it to somewhere, you know, either to purple or to a much more bluer one. And then, you don't want to go straight down. You gotta want to, like, move a little further to the right so you don't lose saturation. And that's for the shadows. Now for the highlights. Highlights is gonna go much more higher, so basically leaning more to the green. And instead of moving down, I'm gonna move higher. And for more to the left, because this is where the white is located. So there we go. Okay. So, if you're curious why I do that, instead of, you know, picking up and then just moving the thing upwards, it's much more simpler. I guess it has something to do with color theory. I want things to not look muddy, and I want the colors to look more varied. So it just doesn't stay into one shade of blue. I want it to be a little bit more, have a little more wider range. But if you're curious on why I moved to the purple or why I moved to the green or whatever, basically, this is basically parts or sections where you want to pick up your highlights and where to pick your shadows. The shadows are pretty much sitting on this territory, basically on the blue and the purples and all that stuff. because yellow is just the brightest color in comparison to blue. Yellow is just brighter. And I guess it has something to do with, you know, sun and the shadow and light and shadow. You know, absence of light, you know, much more colder. Much more colder to interpret, and light is just warmer. So it's yellow. So that's why highlights are kind of like around this region, and shadows are like around this region. That's why you kind of see like artists just using purple for shadows. Because it does. Kind of makes sense. Oh, hold up. Wrong brush again. And there you have it. It's really good for quick shadows, but again, this might depend on your style and stuff like that. So these are the three basic colors that I typically pick up. You got the base, basically our middle part, and the highlights. Highlights are just basically brighter than the base. And then the shadow. You can pretty much stretch out. Oh. You could pretty much stretch out their contrast even further. Like, make this more darker, make this more lighter. So in that way, it's much more easier to distinguish or differentiate the three of them. But these are basically the three colors that you want. Wait, shadow colors should be different? What do you mean by that? Not completely different. It's just somewhat adjusted to the point that it's not the same shade of blue. Dang, I've been shading everything wrong. What you been doing with your shadows? I typically use purple for my shadows. Like, for example, this one. This is purple. Here, let me set it to normal. If it's normal, you can see it's just a bright purple, but I set it to multiply and make that a little bit more transparent. And there you go. But then again, it kind of depends on your style and depends on like what environment your character is in, or what the environment or the ambience is. Because this is one way to do it. There's like, you know, there's a lot more different ways to do it. This is just one way. Like, I can turn this to red and green. It really depends on, like, I guess the vibe of what you want for the illustration or for your character. But if we're talking about effects, I mean, it depends. If we're just going with the basic blue water, then these are like, all you need is blue. It's called U-Shift in the pixel art community. It's a pretty common technique and it's applicable to other areas. But yeah, it does make your colors a lot more enjoyable. Yeah, because if we're doing the, you know, going down, going up when it comes to the brightness, it just looks muddy for me. Or I guess it looks more boring. Because you're just adjusting pretty much. And this is pretty much more evident when it comes to picking out skin tones. Or how you render skin tones. You don't want to just go up and down because it is gonna look muddy. That's why you want a little bit more shade variety. So yeah. Anyways, now that we have our colors, let's color everything in blue. Let me change the settings here. There we go. And that's everything's blue. Next thing we need to do is to add in the shadows. Now, the easy way to do this, or one way to do this, I have two ways of doing or adding shadows. One, you just put it inside. That's it. You just put it inside, just like that. You're pretty much drawing another effect, but in a tinier way, and it's inside the effects. That's one way to do it. But you can also, you know, do this version where there's like visible sides to it. Like for example, we want this section to be the front part, so we're gonna do this. Like we want to add dimension to water, something like that. This is one way to do it. If you want to like add dimension water, but you can also do this type of method. Is this going to be on Patreon and YouTube? Yep, it's gonna be re-uploaded to any of I don't know, video platform, whatever. So in that way, you guys can rewatch it. So that's two ways. Oh yeah, you can also set this to multiply, but it's kind of unnecessary, so if you don't want to be concerned when it comes to layer properties, like you don't want to deal with that, and you just pretty much want to use solid colors because you're, I don't know, very skilled at picking out colors, then that's why. You don't need to be all too concerned about like multiplies, glow dodges. You can ignore that for now. Let's just go with the basic, easy way to do it. We're gonna move on to the complicated ones once we're done with this. So let's go back to the inside way of doing things. Again, I'm using the lasso for everything. You could just do it same for the spiky ones over here. Oh. No, please don't crash. In my Clip Studio Paint is acting up. I haven't updated my computer also. Maybe that's why. Anyways, let's fill in the insides of this guy. You can also do that. You can also do this sort of thing where it's like kind of skinny. Or more subtle. Kind of like that. But you could just fill up the whole thing if you want it. But if you don't want to do that, you can also just put in subtle ones. And you might be curious on like, how do you decide on that? So think of it this way. It's kind of like forming tiny bubbles on the inside. And that's how I was able to draw this part. Same to this one. Just do that and done. That's how you form these guys. Let's go back to blurring them. Or you could just do that. The tiny bubbles in the inside. Again, you can use your brushes for this. I typically just go with the lasso because my brushes are like way too basic. Too basic, and most of my brushes aren't in a good setting. I just literally make this bigger, and the size is much more like, or have the size in a much more bigger range. Basically, you know, thick to thin is much more easier to do in this one. But I don't like how it's set up. That's why I just go with the lasso, because it's easier, and it's what I'm used to. As you can see, the contrast is really, really distinctive. Like, you can pretty much distinguish both of them. But that's important because you don't want it to be too light, right? You don't want it to be too light to the point that it's hard to tell the difference. But I guess you can, as long as you can tell the difference. But if it's at the point where you could barely tell the difference, you're gonna need a much more darker shade than that. Let's just go with this one. Oh, let me add this here. And add the inside. Oh, and you can also like do the thick to thin type of method. Basically, the more thicker it is, more shadows are gonna be present. Or you can just do the bubble, not attached sort of thing. Gonna look flat right now because we don't have our highlights. There we go. I guess we can proceed to add the highlights for this scenario. We can move on to the other method later. Let's try to add the highlights so that way it can look like water. So same method, you just put it on the inside. No need to be concerned with like what's the front, what's the back, where do you place it, all that stuff. Forming little bosoms. I mean, you decided to give us this free lesson. I have no clue. I guess I just thought of it as a perfect opportunity to like ramble about on how I do effects, and I guess it's like a way for me to like reflect on how I do this sort of stuff. So in that way, if I'm like, wait, how do I do this again? Hey, I could just watch myself. I don't typically watch myself because I hate hearing myself. I just look at it or rewatch a time lapse of me doing it. And also, I'm like talking about uh, you know, doing Pokemons, and Pokemons are like pretty much have significant elements. So, hey, perfect opportunity for me to ramble about. Okay, same philosophy here. You want size variety, big and small. You can also place the highlights at like the opposite side. Like for example, the shadows are at this side, so let's put it on. Let's put it down here. Or perhaps the shadows that you want to cover up. That also works. And I also thought that you guys might like it. Hopefully you can learn a thing or two about it. Or you guys would find it helpful. Okay, these tiny ones are like super small, so you can just ignore it or not put any sort of highlights to it because it's too small. It's not gonna be seen. You're not gonna see that. And you can see it's kind of forming now. There we go. Now how do you do that to wait, we actually still have a few blobs, so let's do that before we go to the spiky ones. You can also make long ones like that. That's a way to do it. So it's really up to you on what kind of shape that you want to work with. Oh yeah, you can also uh combine both. Like as I mentioned earlier, you can combine both spiky and kind of like a blobby, more rounded nature. You can do that for this. Like for example, it's like maybe forcing it around like that. Hold up, let me stop using the brush. The brush is making me not know what to do. You can do something like that. Maybe it's kind of like dashing forward. It's a little bit hard to tell because again, contrast. Actually, let me make this canvas gray so it's easier for us to see. Oh god, that's a little bit too light. Okay, there we go. I think that's better. There we go. Am I in the right layer? Nope, I am not. Okay. And there you go. You can combine the spiky shapes to the blobby ones. And heck, you can make it even multi-directional. So basically, you have a direction forming a ring, but this one is going that way or going through the ring. So you can do all this sort of stuff. You can also add like pulling motion, like you can add spikes to it, so you can reinforce its direction. You can do that, or you could just make it the simple way and add blobs. You can also do that to the tiny ones. Oh. Now for, I guess, a spiky one. Hold up, let me just add highlights to this. Okay, you gotta make sure you're not covering the whole. Or just focus on the important parts. You don't need to like fill up the whole thing. Because again, we don't want it to be too cluttered. Or too much for eyes to comprehend. Here, let me actually the highlights, sprinkling that. Hey Edzu, welcome. Welcome everybody. Me just rambling about effects in water. Actually, let me take a drink, actually. My throat is killing me. So, timeout. I might also... Actually, let me take a bathroom break also. So, I'm gonna play an ad. And I'll be right back. So we can come back and continue this, BRB. Okay, I'm back. Okay. Where were we? My pen. Still have water on me. Okay. Hold up. All of my windows are scattered. I think we might take up a long time for the complex way of doing it. Cause oh boy, it'll still follow the same rules, but we're not gonna be completely restricted on like on those rules. Cause it's rendering, but this is like the most basic way to do it. So let's add those stuff on the inside. Again, this is like one way to do it. This is one way to like add the shadings or the highlights and shadows and all that stuff. I guess this is the most basic way because you're just basically adding it on the inside. No need to overcomplicate stuff. But if we're talking about this one, where we're trying to identify or kind of like, you know, add a little bit more dimension to our water. It's not completely solid. Let's make that clear. But this is another way to do it. If you want to be how do you say this? I guess if you wanted to make it a little bit more technical, look more technical. Damn, I can't hear anything. I'm currently outside. Oh, okay. I thought it was my audio. Is my music too loud? Dang. It wasn't. What the hell? I can't tell OBS why. Okay, let's get back to this. And in the shadows and such. Again, I'm doing the method where you kind of like form these bubbles. So you can form this silhouette or shapes or shadows or whatever. Oh yeah, you might also need to take note on the direction on where your lighting is. So basically you're gonna be more concerned with the lighting here. And what I mean by that is, where is your light source? So let's just say our light source is somewhere around here. So it's shining upon this way. So our shadows are gonna be in the opposite direction. So let's just make that as basic as possible. Again, I'm also one of those people who just doesn't want to overcomplicate lighting. Like, just pick a direction and that's it. Sometimes my lighting doesn't even make sense. As long that it looks coherent, everything looks fine or something like that, that's good enough for me. Let's not overcomplicate things. So let's just add those up. You're basically almost like rendering a sphere, almost. Just a lot more shapes. Or separate standard shadows rather than a perfect one. I actually don't want that to be the sign. My coloring is gonna be rough, so hopefully that's not too big of a deal. As you can see, this is one side and this is kind of like a top side. But if we're talking about realistically, nah, it doesn't. Water kind of doesn't work that way. Again, water kind of just makes any kind of form or shape, so it has no clear, distinct sides. Oh, and we're gonna move into the spiky one. So, basically, I just kind of choose which curve is gonna be gonna have the majority of the shadows. So, think of it this way. It's kind of like a cloth. Let me draw a cloth. It's a barely poorly drawn cloth. Let me redraw that again. I could freehand that. Oh, I think of it as paper. It also works. Any flat, flowy kind of material. Basically, whatever that has a side. I don't like that. Damn, I'm learning it just by watching. Still, I can't hear anything because of the vehicles. Oof. I mean, I kind of feel ya. Yesterday, our neighbors were just blasting with the karaoke. Oh, no, I don't need to feel that. Okay. Again, you can also add bits that, flying around if you want to. With, using the shadow color. It's really up to you. And let's do the same thing with this one. This is gonna be, I guess, a little tricky because there are spikes, but it's really just the same thing. You just curve out, and fill up one side. I guess this is more concerned with the edges. Because the last method, you kind of don't touch the... You kind of don't touch the edges, right? Because it's inside. But in this one, you're gonna be using the edges a lot. So let's have that as our back. And I think you can kind of see it's forming certain kind of shape, or it feels a little bit more 3D. More karaoke? Did someone die for them to celebrate? I'm not sure. It's either of the two. It's either a birthday or someone died. Or someone just wanna go out drinking. Well, mom was home luckily in the Jeep Dam on driving. It's like a Dominic region. Let's go. I'm surprised you don't have earphones. I cannot go outside without earphones. I don't want to hear anybody. I don't want anybody to approach me. So I make it obviously, or make it obvious for them that I am not available. And then let's add more to the edges. Be more concerned with the edges, basically. And since this one is at the front, you can add a shadow here, maybe here. So in that way, it looks like the two are separate things. I kind of don't like the shape, but whatever. It's just an example. Now for this one, let's do it one more time. Let's use this. I like going on the inside. And again, you're just following the shape. You're just sitting at the edge. That's the only difference. And I guess being more concerned with the lighting. Again, the lighting is somewhere around this part. There we go. You could just do this also. Where the highlights doesn't kick in unless reach a certain point. I guess this method is a little bit advanced, but once you get the hang of it, it'll look clean. There we go. Shadows are done. Time for the highlights. Okay, let me add a layer on top so I don't have to like redo the whole thing. So same thing. You want it at by the edge. Of course, it can still be inside of it. Not too restrictive about that. But we gotta make sure it's at the side where the light source is at. Is it a good idea to use the lighting sphere as a reference for a ball of water? Yes. It's pretty much this. I just added like kind of those weird shapes. I just didn't perfect it. But it pretty much uses the same principle. Again, what we kind of want to do is make it simple for us rather than overcomplicating it. So yeah, it also works. And that spear pretty much applies to most pretty much everything. If you're dealing with lighting, you're gonna see that sphere all the time. It's lighting 101. It's the canon. You can also add a little bit of highlights over there. So in that way, it's here at the opposite side. Again, we're talking about water, so it's not gonna be too strict on its sides, because it doesn't have a permanent shape or a form. Again, size variety helps it out. And again, you can be spikier if you want to. Kind of like imitating waves and such. Or it kind of reminds us of the waves. It just kind of looks like webs to me. So, and you can add little bits lying around. Because water is sparkly. Oh, and when it comes to spiky edges, you could just add them at like here at the edge. I guess it's much more easier to add the lighting with this method. It looks better to me. But you can also not you can also add them inside. Basically, you want your highlights to be like the one that is indicating what is the edge that is being formed by the water. But you can also do it inside or add them inside. And that way, it looks much more dynamic and more dimensional. Hey, there we go. It's all coming along. I'll just probably use this for the complex one. Oh, yeah, by the way, we're still not at the complex way of doing things or complex way of rendering things. This is the most basic one. And we can do it. But hey, this is the best way to start. Or the easiest way to start. Okay, where else? This one. Again, just go by the edge. You can also do it on the inside, but that highlight is gonna make it look like we're gonna be interpreted as some sort of edge by the water. Again, you can use any sort of brush of your choice for this. Oh yeah, you can also add those type of strings if you want to like add a little bit more for your effects. Not really realistic, but you get the idea. Helps out with the details. And there you have it. That's the basic way. Well, two ways to do it. Here, let me merge them. One is using the edges and one doing the insides. The insides is probably the easiest way to do it. And if you want to level up, you can use the edges. You're a little bit more confident when it comes to dimensions. Move on to this one. And probably when it comes to lighting, because direction or light source is gonna be a factor to this. But yeah, these are the basic way to do it with just 3 colors. So now the next one, or a much more complex way of rendering. This is the basic way, basically using flats for everything. Okay, the next one. The next one pretty much requires us a little bit more fiddly, in my opinion. Because we're not only using 2 basic tools. We're gonna be using lasso, G-pen, or whatever brush you want. But we're also gonna use the airbrush. And here's the thing. I typically discourage beginners when it comes to the airbrush because the airbrush is just annoying to control. That's why I typically discourage like beginners on using it, because you have less control when it comes to edges and stuff. Did not mean to delete that. Okay. And cell shading is just much more easier for them, or at least for me, because it's much more easier to distinguish contrast with cell shading. But when it comes to airbrush, the colors are much more varied, as you can see. Like, I'm trying to color pick. Basically, when it comes to contrast or cell shading, you can easily distinguish 2. Like, one is lighter, one is darker. But when it comes to the airbrush, it is far more... The range is far more wider, basically. Actually, let me use it. Let me use the airbrush for this. Not letting me. It's not letting me use my tools for some reason. Okay, there we go. Here's the airbrush. Color pick this. There. Can you distinguish both colors? I don't think so. It is fading looking, but you can distinguish both. But we're gonna use those on the next method, or in the much more complicated way of rendering. But we're still following the same principle, like shadow, base color, and highlight. But this time, it's gonna be a little bit different. It's gonna be a little bit more fiddly. And what I mean by that, we're gonna be playing around with translucence or opacity. Basically, the layers are gonna be much more complicated. But I'm gonna explain this in the most basic ass way, or the way I do it is kind of boiled down to like in the most basic way as much as possible, or at least for me. Uh, Actually, where do I put this? Hold up, let me make the canvas a bit bigger for us. We have more space. Put this guy in a different layer, guys. Oh, hold up. I'm burping. Just ate lunch. Okay, let's start with the base, and hopefully you guys can see this, but my layer properties is set to normal, and layer properties, or I guess blending mode here on Clip Studio Paint. Layer settings are just basically like has this all fancy categories like multiply, darken, glow dodges, soft light, hard light, color saturation, etc. And you know, to a beginner, especially if maybe if you're learning a new software, this is too complicated. There's too many, right? But don't worry, we only need two settings. One is the glow dodge, and one is the multiply. So for multiplies, we're gonna use multiply for shadows. And glow dodges for highlights. Because that's pretty much how they behave as a way. As a way for me to describe them. Like for example, if I pick this base color and I set my layer on top of it, into multiply. Here's my lasso. It's gonna make the color darker. But if I set this to normal, it's the same color. But since I picked out the layer setting to be set to multiply, it's gonna make it look like it's darker. But here's another thing. It's transparent. Or quite kind of translucent, as you can see. So in that way, we can add multiple layers or make our stuff look more dynamic with its range, or when it comes to its color range. So in that way, it's much more deep, and make our colors much more exciting. Before that, let me take a water break. I kind of get dehydrated really easily for some reason. I guess it's because it's a little hot. 32 degrees. Okay, great. It's not even summer anymore. Okay, let me take a drink. Hold up. Little mini water break. Oh yeah, if you guys have like questions and stuff, I'm trying my best to like answer them, so let me know. Okay, where were we? Let's have another layer on top. Oh god, why am I lagging? Okay. I gotta also point out that the way I place my layers are gonna be important also. Somewhat important. So basically, I want everything on top of the base colors. So you want your multiply and glow dodges on top of the base. And our base is just basically set to normal, so you don't have to overcomplicate that. So don't mind that all too much. But when it comes to glow dodges, I want to make sure that the glow dodge is on top of everything. Or else, actually, hold up. Hold that thought. Let me pick up my base color again. And use the airbrush. As you can see, it's the same color again. But it looks much more brighter. Because it's set into glow dodge. The blending mode is over here on Clip Studio Paint. It might look a little different for you in case you have a different layout for your, settings and all that stuff. So, but you can just check that out to layers and where was it again? Layer settings? Yep. Layer setting or blending mode. Here, let me use a lasso to make it more clear in this. I am lagging. What is that? Okay, hold up. Let me close a few windows. Because my computer is burning up, I think. Okay. Where were we? The highlights. There we go. If I set this to normal, boom, it's still the same color. But if I set it to glow dodge, it's gonna be a much more brighter color. So here's another thing. You can still use these different shades of blue if you want to. But I have to point out that it's the colors are gonna be a little bit more intensified, as you can see. But if you don't want to deal with that whole shenanigan, you could just use the same base color for everything. But I kinda don't want to do that. I want to have, again, we want color variety. Have a little bit more of a pizzazz to our colors. Actually, I kind of like the saturated one, so let's keep that. Or we could just make this saturated. There we go. Now, the reason why I want my glow dodge on top of the multiply layers, because if I, for example, do that, the multiply layer is gonna cover up our highlights, and it's not gonna be highlight anymore. So you want that to be on top of it, or else it's not gonna work. Okay, so hold up. Another thing that I do, this is kind of an old method that I do, so I kind of don't do it all the time, but again, it depends. Especially on water, since water has like so many elements anyways. So basically we're gonna have more colors, but we're still using the same principles, right? Like shadow, base, and highlight. The three colors that you just basically need for contrast or values that you need. But if we're doing a little bit much more complicated way of doing things, I'm gonna add a layer somewhere around on top. And I'll be going to the layer property. Like for example, here. Draw out. Let me draw out some. Maybe a splash. Like so. I go to the layer property and then I'm gonna enable border effect. Pick out the color for the borders. And you can make it a little thicker if you want to. This is just something I do to like add a layer on top. Hold up. No, good setting. And that's just a way to like add a layer on top of everything. And you might be thinking, well, where does the airbrush add into this? Well, we just soften the edges. That's pretty much it. But in the glow dodge, you can also do this to erase. But we're also gonna use it to like add a hinge of glow to it. But in the multiply, you can also do the same thing. But I typically just erase it. Now, let's actually apply that, or actually use this one as an example, because I really don't want to spend 30-40 minutes of rendering to an example. If I could just do it this way. Okay, we have like few layers here. This is gonna be our base, so let's just turn everything off. What's this layer? Okay, I have an extra layer there for some reason. Okay. Turn up this one, turn up this one. Pick up our base color. There we go. Okay, I might add some outlines to this, but again, this is somewhat depending on your style. But if you want, if I'm feeling lazy and I just want a quick way to do it, again, I just go to the layer property, add some borders to have outlines like that. This is the most quickest way that you can do it, but it's not the most cleanest or good looking way to do it. But it is definitely the quickest way that you can possibly add outlines to something. As you can see, actually let me have a copy in case I want to go back and have a backup. And that way we don't go back and forth and redraw the whole thing. We don't want that. And I don't want that. But let's see, am I missing something? But if you want to do it manually, I just use the J-pen and or maybe even the lasso tool to like add in some borders or line work to it. But honestly, this kind of looks, this also kind of looks good. But let me add outlines. Let's use the deep blue. I mean, if they don't like this, I could just grab it. And again, this method is somewhat optional, so it really depends on your art style. If it doesn't fit your art style, then there's no need. We just skip this one. Oh, and if the colors aren't looking right, like you kind of don't like it, maybe you want to adjust. I can just I have a shortcut key for this. What was it again? Just go to edit, tonal correction, and pick the hue, saturation, and luminosity. And in that way, I can adjust the colors to whatever I like. Maybe I want it to be a little darker. Maybe lean to a different kind of hue. Basically adjusting. But actually, I kind of want to. Let's adjust it a bit. Something like this. There we go. And let's go back to outlining. I like how the water fizz kind of incorporates the Mega Swamp parts. Yeah, baby. Oh yeah, isn't Swampert water ground? It's gonna be the of a shame that I wasn't able to incorporate ground type and focus more on the water. Bro, can I just say I'm gonna ramble about Pokemon, so bear with me. Water ground types are secretly OP. They're kind of like sleeper OP. But they are very vulnerable to grass. To be honest, I don't think anyone remembers this Swampert Kinesma. I kind of don't blame them. Sometimes I forgot what types are my Pokemons are. And I'm baffled that... Okay, you're lightning type, but you can use dark moves. Okay. But yeah, I just noticed that water ground types are like kind of OP. Like Quagsire, like, you know, you're just randomly strolling around, you know, catching Pokemons. But for some reason, this Quagsire, I can't forget how is he pronounced? I'm stuttering. Okay. Quagsire and Wooper. Quagsire. Like, they're so tanky. I mean, it's probably my fault because I keep picking up, like, fire type Pokemons. So I guess that's on me. Yeah. Sorry I can't say that much when it comes to what the heck I'm doing right now. Because there's really not that much to say, so I'm just really outlining stuff. I can't say any tips or tricks because I'm just outlining at the moment. We're gonna continue our tutorial later once I'm done. This is what happens if you're like watching unedited type of videos of tutorials. The artist is gonna spend majority of the time drawing. And the explanation part is gonna be like a short session. The reason why they ain't dominant, the Pokemons with those typings aren't that powerful in stats, but because of the typing Quagsire, Gastrodon was pretty good during Gen 3 to 6. Yeah, it's their stats that just basically is holding them back. But I kind of get it though. Because if they have like pseudo legendary stats, they're gonna dominate the meta. But then again, they could just be countered with grass, but eh. Oh yeah, I finally beat Omega Ruby just now, and guess what? Relicanth was required to catch 4 legendaries. Yeah, it's he has like a lot of conditions. Or he has a condition to be catched. But I actually find Relicanth's real life counterpart really cool. Because Relicanth does kind of exist. The dude basically doesn't need to evolve because it's perfect. It's a perfect and the way it is. Another OB typing combo is Steel and Fairy type and Bug and Steel. Yeah. You rarely here's the thing, you rarely see like uh a decent bug type Pokemon. Like one of the worst typings, but if there's one good, like really good bug type, it stays good. It's kind of like a typing that has no in between. It's either the worst one or it's the best one. Funny enough, ice types used to be the worst type. Now it's bug types. Oh yeah, ice is like, yeah, ice was super useless. it was it was only good for one or two types, which is not really enough to justify. And some water type Pokemons can learn ice. Who was it? Abomasnow? Is probably the worst one because it has so many weaknesses. Probably said their name wrong. But I couldn't remember. All I remember is Obama. Okay, just give me a solid minute to like outline this. Then we can talk about how I'm gonna render this. I only add this outlines because of style preference. I guess it's because of I guess I'll blame Demon Slayer or maybe Jujutsu Kaisen's effects because of this. Because they have this kind of border outlines when it comes to their effects. Volcarona is that fire moth, and it is so OP that it got banned recently. Bro, they really banned it? Damn. But I am also baffled that some Pokemons are like, they should have like some some types added into them, or like maybe different or added or maybe even removed, because it just makes sense. Zeraora is probably, again, Zeraora is one of my faves. He is a Pokemon Unite. I'm actually baffled. It's not a what was it, Thunder or Lightning? I forgot. It's not a Thunder and Fighting type. When Zeraora just looks like a Fighting type Pokemon. Come on. I think I should play Black too, because I learned that you can get Volcarona early. Man, you're so quick on finishing this, but I guess I should blame myself. I am kind of stalling. I'm super slow in finishing Pokemon games. Oh yeah, currently I'm playing Gen 3, which is Emerald, and uh Gen 6, I think. Pokemon X. My Pokemon X should have been done long before. I'm stalling because I realize I kind of want to collect the Pokemons a bit more. And I just want to make my Pokemons over leveled so I don't have to think and strategize all that much. Yes, I'm one of those players that pretty much spams the same move. Are you still in the rock gym against the rolling gym? Now I think I completed all of the gyms. All I need to do next is the Elite Four, but I'm still like trying to collect Pokemons on other locations. I should get my Eldegoss also. I also love Eldegoss. And a Crustle also. God damn, I just forgot that I haven't caught a Crustle just yet. Or a Double. Man, it sucks that I can't transfer my Pokemons. Cause that's the hard part. I have to redo the whole thing. And I wish I could transfer them. I do also have Omega Ruby. I think I started it, but since I'm playing Emerald, I'm thinking of finishing Emerald first. But I think Omega Ruby is much faster because of XP share. Does Omega Ruby? I forgot. Does Omega Ruby also has XP share? And the thing about this brush, I can have a sharp tip to it. I was able to run through Y and Omega Ruby because I looked for a Garchomp for Y and Salamence. And Mega Blaziken for Omega Ruby. Yeah, I also just caught a Garchomp. I just realized I have way too many dragon Pokemons. And I realized midway I'm like, Wait, I need a fairy type, or else I'm gonna get wrecked by other dragons. I mean, I guess if Garchomp is over leveled enough, because currently my Garchomp isn't even a Garchomp yet. It's still a Golbite, so it's still not a build. So I need to work on that. And I keep switching between like Pokemon X or Pokemon Emerald. Oh yeah, I caught a shiny at my Pokemon Emerald. It's just a Wingull though. You know the painful part? When I started playing Pokemon, I barely know anything about shinies. I probably killed like a lot of shinies on my way. I think in my platinum run, I haven't played my platinum in a while. I haven't finished it because I was tired of grinding. Grinding my Pokemons to level 60. And oh yeah, Pokemon Platinum has the slowest health bar. It's pretty much a meme. Has the slowest health bar progression. You just watch Blissey health bar going down for like an hour. So that's another reason why I couldn't finish that. Okay, hold up. Let me tie up my hair because it's getting a little hot. Got lost in my train of thought there. But yeah, I think I remember killing a shiny Floatzel, Floatzel multiple times. So yeah, because I was farming. Okay, I was trying to catch it, but my Pokemon's over leveled, so. The poor shinies. I couldn't even tell it was a shiny sometimes. My colorblind. Yeah, some shinies also barely have any difference. Garchomp is probably the most prominent example. You cannot tell. You cannot tell a normal Garchomp between a shiny one. The only way to tell if it's a shiny if it has stars appearing in front of it. Same on my Y gameplay. I had a Garchomp, Salamence, and no Hexers before I drop Hexers for a Crocodile. Yeah, I also have Crocodile. I couldn't keep. Man, I like Hexer's design so much though. But I was a little bummed out that, oh god, you're only a dragon type? This isn't gonna work out. I also have that dinosaur thingy. I think it's a rock type and a dragon type. Gen 6 make games XP share so easy. Yeah, it makes the grind, less grindy. Yeah, Platinum actually had the same health bar drop. But it had the illusion of being faster than uh, Diamond and Pearl. Yeah, it was a bit improved, but in Diamond and Pearl, it was unbearable. I'm still pissed that I killed those shiny pills in my old white game. I didn't even notice there were shinies. Or shinies were super rare. Because I didn't know. Okay, right now I have I could either use or set this base layer as a multiply layer. Because I actually forgot to mention this. If you want it to be transparent. Like for example, the water is in front of something. You can set your multiply or your base layer into multiply. So in that way, it is transparent. It's still gonna be in the same color, somewhat. Because it's not on top of anything. Because right now, I only have a white canvas, so it's only gonna show... Only gonna show that. But yeah. At this point, the strongest Pokemon that I have right now in X is probably Talonflame. Talonflame is so fucking OP, man. Or made my run so easy. Unless there's a water type, then I gotta switch to Blastoise. I'm dying from stupidity. How did I not know? Figured out that lowering the opacity makes stuff transparent. Oh yeah, you can also do that, but it is gonna make your colors a little bit more lighter because it's gonna be transparent, so it's not gonna be visible if you set it up to 0. But I'm gonna set that up to 100. And we'll have this at the back be at a darker shade, so that's gonna be set to multiply and a little bit transparent. Right now, let's set that up to 100%. Flip that. Fill that up. Set that to multiply. And there you go. It's a little transparent. Or it is transparent. You can see. And now that we pretty much have all of our base done, we can now move on to rendering. Basically, we're gonna add shadows, multiple layers, all that stuff. We also have this layer. I'm actually not sure if I should use this as my blue layer or turn it into white. Okay. Let's turn off the border effect at the moment because we're gonna change the color. That color. Then move that there. Let's use a darker color for the borders. If it doesn't work with darker colors, I may use a lighter color. Let's see. Nah. Let's go with the dark one. Okay. Now that everything is done, add a multiply. You can select if you want. If that makes it easier for you to color things. Hold up. Again, let's have the colors ripped up. So in that way, it's much more easier to fill things up. And nothing is spilling and all that. But I'm not gonna use it. Oh, you get a Gale Wing on Talonflame? I'm actually not sure. Because I have Acrobatics, Fly, and Roost, Flame Charge, in case I want to burn the enemy. I think that was my setup too. Talonflame. I'm actually not sure if I clicked forget on Gale Wing. And again, my Talonflame was pretty much over leveled. And since I'm trying to catch most Pokemons, I'm actually not sure if I can complete the Pokédex. But yeah, I don't need to worry too much to Talonflame because he's faster. He has fire type. So basically, even when the Pokemons try to attack Talonflame, they're gonna burn. So he has so many defensive stats. So or defensive moves also. Well, not quite defensive. It's more like healing. I guess I can count that as defensive. Yeah, his moveset is just good. It's just too good. I'm actually super glad I caught him. But then again, man, I think almost every Pokemon generation, you kind of need a bird on your team. It just makes sense. Oh yeah, we're also gonna add shadows on the inside. That way, you know, dimensions and stuff like that. Oh, and if you want, you can select, and then you can just multiply. Oh, actually, hold up. I need to select a few things. I need to select this, and I need to select that. That doesn't work for some reason. There we go. You could just airbrush this if you want to. But I can just, I can also just lasso. If I want, clear edges. Or clearer shapes. That's for the inside. Aegislash and Garchomp were my aces on the white team. Oh yeah, I haven't caught a Salamence yet. I have so many stuff that I haven't caught. Because I was like so focused on like trying to finish it, and I was like backtracking. I decided to backtrack and like actually I wanna what the other Pokemons now. Oh yeah, I also still remember still being annoyed by the controls in Pokemon Y. Like it just feels so wrong in 3D. Everything it feels so clunky, especially navigating to the city. I'm like, where the heck do I go? Everything, man. Pokemon's environment design is still pretty weak in my opinion. Yo, same. I was lost in the big sea. Like, let's have a city in circles, and most of the buildings look the same. What can go wrong? Especially with this clunky controls. They didn't really figure out 3D. Not very well. Heck, even recent generations. I mean, I think you can remember the tree incident in Pokemon Sword and Shield. It's not super bad, it's just the way that it's like designed or rendered. is still pretty. It just looks so weak. A little weak and repetitive. And again, I think we all have the right to complain, especially if it's like a $50 game. And not to mention, it's made by Game Freak. Come on, you have billions of budget, and at this point, I don't think the budget isn't even the problem anymore. The deadlines that they have. But anyways. Oh yeah, what I'm doing right now is, still the edges thingy. It might look a little subtle, because the shape here right now is like, definitely not as simple as this. But I'm still doing, the edges. Type of thing. Or putting the shadows on the edges. Yeah, I think Omega Ruby kind of fixed that 3D problem, but it's still there. Oh yeah! Finally there's more features in, Omega Ruby, which is like, having the map at the bottom of the screen, which is very helpful. Which is pretty much absent at Pokemon Y. Oh yeah, the new generation. I haven't played the new gen Pokemon games, so bear with me. Do they still have the HM HM moves shenanigans? I hate that thing. Oh my god. I am literally forced to catch a Bidoof and a Zigzagoon to become my HM slave. It's so annoying. Like, let me just move. Please. Oh, never mind, you can't move. There's a little tree that's on the way. And it definitely doesn't make sense on 3D. Or it's a little bit hard to take it seriously on a 3D environment. So if it's like pixelated and 2D, it kind of makes sense. Blocking your path, so but in 3D it just became tedious. I don't know either, but I do know that the only positive of Brilliant Diamond got rid of HMs by giving literal HM Bidoofs like. Heard you hate HMs. Here's his life. Poor Bidoof. Honestly, Bidoof's next evolution, what was it? Beer Barrel? Forget my names. I'm dying of dementia. Oh, Bibarel, there we go. Bibarel? Bibarel? Eh. It's so ugly. Stay as Bidoof. Don't evolve, please. After I finish the stories of Omega Ruby, I can say that it's 200% better than X and Y. I mean, X and Y was rush, right? The stories was eh. Even the champion was pretty forgettable, but their design is actually pretty lit. Okay, I'm gonna call the multiply stone, or the shadow stone. So let's move on to. I mean, we can you can again airbrush to make the edges a little bit softer. Here, let me do that. And now for the next one, we're gonna use our airbrush much more in the glow dodge section. So let's set this to glow dodge, change our colors to something more lighter. Though I think giving us a free light use was yeah, the Anthos design was wasted in X and Y. I especially hated the friendship part. I didn't even notice that it was gonna be something about friendship. Like, who are these NPCs? Just give me one rival and get it over with. I don't care about it. It's like characters. Oh yeah, money is so easy also in Pokemon X and Y. I remember having a crap ton of money, but I guess it's also because I didn't bought that many outfits and items because I keep forgetting to spend them. Oh, in the highlights, I'm gonna go back to talking about effects for a bit here. For effects or for highlights, I'm gonna do a combination of both. So basically, I'm gonna add it to edges like this, but it's pretty much on the inside also. So a hybrid of the two. And we're gonna add another layer of highlights again, because this glow dodge is just basically serving as like the glowy kind of part of the water. So we're gonna add more highlights basically later on. So let's just get that added in. I love Omega Ruby so much, I think I might go play Alpha Sapphire next instead of Black 2. I mean, it's kind of weird because of Kyogre. I know, right? I hated those three Dumbos of X and Y. Especially the fat one. I remember last week seeing them in the reward ceremony. You get medals for saving Kalos, and I shouted to myself that they didn't do anything. Why are you here? Yeah, they're just basically the most hollow cardboard NPCs. Like, why are you... Just give me one rival, please. And if you're gonna be multiple... If there's gonna be multiple rivals, at least be... I don't know. Be memorable? I also don't like the grunts in X and Y. Their design is too fucking goopy. Too goofy. They also just look like ketchup to me. They don't look red to me. They look like that ugly orange. It's trying to be red, but it's not red. It's just a off-colored orange. Oh yeah, I think Black and White did multiple rivals as well. I don't remember that much on the story of Black and White. Although I do remember they were... The story is a little intense? Not too intense, but it was they were trying something out. But at least that's coherent compared to what happened to X and Y. If I remember to the story, again, I wasn't paying that much enough attention to the story in X and Y. Basically, the guy has like the same motivation as Cyrus, but if you're gonna go with the same story format, bro, I would rather just pay attention to Platinum. If you're gonna recycle that plot point. Team Player was so dumb, like, did they even know what their bosses meant? Yeah, I didn't like the Team Player's design either. Oh yeah, right now I'm just filling up solid fills for cell shading for the highlights. Uh, we're gonna be using the airbrush layer. Like, we're gonna do this type of stuff once I get the flats all done. Team Galactic designs is also dumb but memorable. Really? I find them. Team Galactic's design is actually pretty good. Team Flare was just too goofy for me. I don't know. I can't tell why. They're just suits and with curls. With some shades on. Like, come on. And again, it might be also because of the color. I really did not like their color. It was like an orange or red that was having an existential crisis. Okay, let's see if I'm missing anything. It's this one. Put that on the edge. Let's soften it a little bit. Gonna soften the edges a little bit. And then we're gonna top it off again with another glow. Okay, let me actually move this navigator on my other screen. So in that way I'm aware, or I get to see that the colors are looking fine or not. Oh dang, if I would have to do Alpha Sapphire, that means I would have to not reuse the mods that I use in the Mega Ruby. Problem is, I use all of the best mods. I mean, you could try out strategizing, or go with the good old method of like inducing X speed, X attack, using items, and over leveling the mons. Okay, let me do the same method on this layer. Basically, add multiply, and glow dodges. And again, make sure all your layers are organized. Like, okay. This multiply is beneath the base colors because it's behind the base colors. So there's that. But if we're talking about the layers on top, glow dodge would still be on top right here. But since these parts over here are like a separate, pretty much a separate part compared to the main ones, I'm gonna use the same thing in the same thing. Let's see. Yeah, though I might have to pick up Mudkip. For some reason, it is the only Gen 3 starter that I have never used. Damn, you use Sceptile? It's so hard for me to pick up grass Pokemons. I guess I'll have Venusaur be the exception to that. And probably some water types too. Again, they're just the reason is pretty much they're not just good at early game. I just go with fire because it's just good at early game. I could just spam, I don't know, a fire type move and call it a day. That's why I typically pick them up. But it does get better around mid game or late game. Especially in Mudkip. He's good at for like 4 gems, I think. And a majority of the elite trainers. Because again, he's only super weak to grass type, and there's not a lot of boss fights in Gen 3 that has grass type. Now, I'm gonna do the inside ones for this. And the highlights inside. Oh yeah, what starter did you use for X? I think it was Fennekin. Oh yeah, the reason why I'm also stalling in Pokemon X, I was like, should I just redo the whole thing? I really want Greninja. Again, I was like, Pokemon X was like the first Pokemon that I played, and I have zero idea when it comes to Pokemon at that time. And when I realized Greninja was, you know, Froakie, I think, I was like, a little bit too late to repick my choices. So yeah, I have way too many. You should pick Greninja. But Fennekin's fine. I was able to pick up a Blastoise. Because I was really lacking water type Pokemon at that time. Or around the early game. Because I literally have like Fennekin, fucking Talonflame, and the rest were like actually I think there were the only two because I wasn't catching enough Pokemons. Okay, there we go. Okay, another layer of highlights, but this time with borders. Now, the point of these highlights is... I think I need a darker edge. Never mind. Hold up. Let me just adjust the borders. These are gonna serve us. It needs to be a little bit more white. That part of the water. How do I explain this? Basically, in waves. Here, let me have a picture. Let me find a picture for you guys. So I can explain it. I don't want to draw it. Wow, this is really pixelated. Okay. So when it comes to water, you can see this white part of it. Basically, water splashes, all that stuff. You have parts that are like solid blue or gradients of blue, and then you have like a big contrast to this white parts or white section over here. We kind of want to add that as a way to like you know, as a way to render our water effects. And the way that you're gonna add them is similar to again, adding highlights. You just want them to be at the edge of the effects, because they are a way of like indicating splashes. Oh yeah, is that water sheet gonna be on Discord? Yeah, I'll try to share it somewhere on Discord or Patreon. It's a little messy though, so hopefully it's hopefully it's gonna be helpful for you guys. I'm very sorry. I'm not very good at writing digitally. It's looking like a water. Why does it look purple to me? Sorry, I keep getting distracted. Did my multipliers? Hold up, let me just change the color a little bit. A little bit more sea looking. The colors of the sea is much more teal looking, or leaning more to the green, basically. But of course there is part of the ocean that looks blue, just blue. And this splashes in. Might look a little messy, but eh. Let me do that. Go. Actually, maybe this way. Yo, I learned that it might be possible to trade with you under 3DS. With wireless? Yeah, I kind of wish I can like just transfer my Pokemons, because I don't want to redo catching with them again. I've heard uh it's somewhat like a subscription thingy. But I barely read onto that much, so yeah, I guess I want to get Trade Evolution, especially Scizor. Oh, that's Pokemon Home. Oh yeah, isn't Gengar also uh a Trade Evolution? I think you need to install Pokemon Home. Actually, not sure. Is that even available still in the 3DS? Because again, the 3DS pretty much the eShop pretty much died. Okay, let's see here. I gotta make sure I don't just put this highlights all over the place because it's gonna look too much. I mean, it is pretty much looking too much right now. Like the details are too overwhelming. Hmm. Let me make this thicker because I couldn't see it very well. So there we go. I made it thicker by 5 pixels. So yeah, basically the complex method is just a lot of fiddling with the settings. One need to go to the layer property and add borders. One is making things into setting things into glow dodge or multiplies. That's basically it. And using the airbrush. That's all. And probably refining it a little bit more. Like, let's see. Let me just try to add it here also. So you guys can download it. Or have a downloaded sample. It's a bit hard to see here because it's a gray background. But if it's a white background like this, I think it's be more lighter. Oh well. Just another layer of highlight. But it's just basically showing them much more foamy I guess it. You call this foam? I actually have no clue on how to call them or what to call them. The foamy parts. It looks better on this flats looks better on the grayscale because of contrast again. White on white doesn't work, people. Please don't take that out of context. The bubbles? I guess it is bubbles. Just a nice additional thing on top of an already super detailed effects. There we go. Oh yeah, how far are you in Omega Ruby? I just started and never played it again. Because I proceeded with because I haven't touched my 3DS in a while until recently right now. I didn't have like a Torchic and a Poochyena in my bag because I haven't played that much. And I decided to like grind a little bit more or spend more stuff, more time in Pokemon X. Hopefully it's visible to you guys. Cause yeah, the white background is like super bright. Might be a little hard to see. But it is coming along. Again, just go with the edges. Try not to cover the whole thing. But enough to showcase the shape. What we need to do. And there you go. It's starting to look more like the ocean. Oh, and yeah, I'm like switching in between to Gen 3 and Pokemon X. So basically, if my emulator is much more, it's right beside my bed, I'll play there. I'll play Gen 3. But if I have my 3DS around or right beside me, then I'll play Pokemon X. I mean, I could just do time hacks. Like changing the time so I can pick up specific Pokemons. And the majority of my time is just spent on me googling how to catch a certain Pokemon. Me trying to catch like what do you call it? Emperos? The small version. A Mareep. I spent way too long trying to catch a Mareep. Only to realize that they only spawn if you like I don't know, use the honey. Damn, that's my levels of ADHD. Whatever's beside me, I go there. And I'm also just finding it a big pain in the ass to charge my to charge my 3DS because you know proprietary ports. But my emulator is just you know USB-C and then good. This 3DS also have Sun and Moon, but I don't feel like playing those games. I think Sun and Moon runs like crap on my 3DS. I have the original 3DS, by the way, so it's like the smallest, the most oldest. But I like the design better on that one. Yeah, it feels terrible to hold. Feels terrible to hold, but it just looks so good. It's the most good looking out of the 3DS for me. There is the 2DS, but it's kind of rare to find them. The one with the I'm not talking about the slab 2DS. I'm talking about the one that flips. But yeah, the slab one was much more common on shops. But I hate it so much because it's so ugly. But it's probably the most comfortable to hold. That's a sacrifice of aesthetics. Damn, at least it's not as ancient as my DS Lite. Man, I also have a DS Lite. I haven't used it because, man, I also played Soul Silver there. I couldn't use it because the power switch is broken. I feel like I got scammed when I bought that. Also, because the store was, they were selling it pretty cheap, so. But goddamn, it was like in terrible condition. It was like super dusty and dirty. Oh. And yeah, it just gave up on me. But I can play DS games on my 3DS. No, I remember getting scammed with the fake Soul Silver. Oh yeah, there's so many fakes right now. But at the same time, man, the prices are so ridiculous. This is the thing that baffles me when it comes to Nintendo products. Their value doesn't depreciate. It's so strange. Cause in comparison to like Xbox, PlayStation, their value is pretty much average. Like, sometimes pretty dirt cheap. Especially in their games. But when it comes to Nintendo products, oh my god. It's insane. And yeah, a lot of people are also faking the cartridges. And, you know, overselling it to ridiculous prices. It's so baffling to me. But then again, I guess a lot of Nintendo fans are like Pokemon fans, and they're pretty big on collecting, so it's in the name. But holy crap, it got me culture shocked. Because, you know, if it's old, it's supposed to be cheap. But no, it's super collectible, it seems. Especially with Game Boys. Game Boys are still, like, the community is still well and alive. Probably because of the modding community. But goddamn. Okay, I'm just gonna add some strings. Stuff like that. Or if not, I'll just add more droplets. Let's add another layer of glow dodge. Just for the whole thing, basically. I think I need a lighter shade of blue. Yeah, Nintendo is still being asses with their old games that they aren't even selling anymore. Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, let me see this. We can also add another multiply beneath. This is optional again. I'm gonna point out this is optional because I'm working with a white background, and that is not very good when it comes to lighter effects or any sort of subject that is much more in a lighter hue or range or color or whatever. So you can pretty much skip this part. If you're like having if you have a gray or darker background, you kind of don't need to do this. I only did do this because I'm stubborn. And I like having a white background. Don't judge me. Backgrounds killed my grandma. Lighten up the edges because I don't want to make it too obvious. Here's without, and here is with the multiply layers. Since it's a little too detailed, I might do something with multiplies. Make them a little bit less detailed and more solid. But if it doesn't make a difference, I'll just go back. Oh, it kinda does. Somewhat. I think that's the wrong layer. Okay. Yep, it's way too high. I think that's pretty much it. I think I should call it there now because I might overdo it. Get this out of the way. Jeez. Let me also showcase the glow dodge. Then also the multiply. Actually, I might need to select it though. The base. Go. Oh, the color is too dark. Basically acting like it's a gradient. So we kind of look like it's complex, but we're just really airbrushing all over the place. So it's nothing too complicated. But it does look cool. It does look glowy. That's pretty much it. Oh yeah, you can also do the multiple direction thing. You know, the ring. Me adding the ring. I think rings are the best when it comes to like strikes like this kind. Anything that is like indicating a blow or an explosion maybe. Going through something like that. And you can add multiple ones if you want. Oh, that's not in front. And there you have it. I guess I didn't need that too big of a canvas. Oh yeah. See, these are the basics. Basic kind. And you can do that in two ways. Here. Turn this on again. Either this way or this way. But you want to add a little bit more pizzazz. Add in that. I think I forgot to turn on another layer for this. Oh, never mind. It's just a different one. And I think you can also see that it kind of works. on the two methods. But I gotta say this one is like works best for me because of the edges and all. And it helps me determine like which one is the front, which one what part or what section I'll be adding the highlights. Or to be specific, the glow dodgers. There you have it. Let me actually save this. And now for some chill time. Because this is basically done. I'm not gonna do anything more. I'm just gonna do some retouching, I guess. And check the colors if they're looking right. I tend to forget that. You forgot. I think this looks too brown. And let me just blur. This is not about effects anymore. This is just me completing this illustration. Oh wait, I do have a shortcut key for that. Should I go with green? That would kind of make sense also. Okay, where's my airbrush again? There you go. Now, time for us to chill. But if you guys have like questions when it comes to water effects, feel free to let me know, and I'll do my best to answer them. But for now, we're pretty much done because that's all I have. That's all I do, or how I do effects. Again, I'm trying not to overcomplicate things, so if you want to level it up, this is the maximum that I can do. Damn, I just learned the dark history of the Naruto fandom. They're like the precursors to the Boku no Hero fandom. I mean, it's not that surprising. Have you seen, like, you know, early Naruto days? And the way they portray Naruto and Sasuke's friendship, like, a part of me is like, bro, how is this guy your friend? And I just hate the whole relationship shenanigan or friendship shenanigan in Naruto. And let's be for real here. I don't know. A majority of the time, mostly in shonen, I tend to disassociate or just do not acknowledge the fandom. Because once you try to get into the fandom, along with the anime that you like, everything is not gonna look right anymore. And the fandom might taint uh your perspective or view to the anime that you like. So I'd rather not. And most of them are like dumb fucks or kids anyway, so rather not. Well, I am a sheltered kid from the internet. Thank God I didn't see that much of the Naruto. Yeah, it was also the early days, so uh early days of Naruto, we don't even have a fucking laptop or anything. I don't even have a phone. I was like first grade, so I was like 6 or 7. So even the concept of fandom doesn't. I don't even know it, but I do get that. It kind of makes sense that Naruto fandom is somewhat similar to Boku no Hero because of the fucking main characters. Like Deku and what's this guy name? God, I am so terrible with names. Deku and Bakugo? Is it Bakugo? Is quite similar to Naruto and Sasuke, but at the same time, why are you friends with these people? It does. The thing is, it doesn't sell. It's not. It's not good at selling as friendship. You know what I mean? Like, you really want to believe me that this is friendship? I mean, yeah, I talk shit about my friends, but not in this way. And I never get why Naruto is friends with Sasuke or Sakura. And there's so many plot points in Naruto that I just get annoyed of. Like, I guess I'm just eye rolling. Don't get me wrong, there are characters that I really like in Naruto, and plot points that I like. Like, again, Naruto peaked when it comes to Pain's arc. Like an actual villain that, you know, talks sense, makes sense. And then after that, I just forgot about it. Bro, I just learned that someone actually offed themselves because Itachi died. Jesus Christ. I don't even remember that much when Itachi died. I am one of the very few people that doesn't hear that much about Itachi. Or I guess not, that doesn't fangirl to Itachi, because he is a pretty popular character. But I actually didn't like his design. Yeah, he interpreted it as to be a cold, cunning character, but at the same time, I'm like, nah, I'm bored. The Uchihas were too. The Uchihas are too edgy, bro. And then Kishimoto forgot about Sage Mode and the the toad summons. Yeah, I kind of, man, after Jiraiya died and then Pain's arc ended, I just didn't care about that much about Naruto. I did watch some fight scenes, like for example to Kakashi and Obito, and Madara's fight scenes and stuff like that. But when it comes to the plot and story, I just didn't care anymore. Heck, I didn't even like the main character. I didn't even like Naruto all that much. Again, this is pretty much my approach when it comes to shonen anime. Shonen anime, anyways. I tend to not like the main characters that much. Oh yeah, what did you do in the Discord stream? I was so sad that I missed it. Oh, you kind of didn't miss too much. I just finished the coloring for Blaziken. I just added tattoos to Blaziken. To the Blaziken illustration. Oh, by the way, since this water effects is all done of me rambling water effects, the next effects that we're gonna be doing is fire, and I'm gonna use a Blaziken illustration for that one. So right now we use Swampert for the water, and the next one is gonna be fire for Blaziken. Damn, I was looking forward for Blaziken. I just added tattoos, to be honest. That's all I did. Oh yeah, I also did a sketch for Garchomp that took me a while to do. I did so many poses for Garchomp. I couldn't decide on one. But it was only a pose sketch. I haven't done the whole design sketch for Garchomp just yet. So yeah, I might stream that one. Who knows? Because I'm very sorry that my stream schedule is all over the place. Like, I'm super inconsistent. Like, oh, maybe I'll be streaming next week or a few weeks after. Who knows? It's hard to pick, like, a date in time recently. Because, you know, I'm busy with other stuff. Yada, yada, yada. Hey, I'll try my best to, like, give you guys insight and share to you the process of me turning Pokemons into, like, characters. Or concepts or whatever. Hey, is the Garchomp gonna be a dude or a dudette? Probably a dude. It's still a pose. But the body type is predominantly a male type, so might be a dude. Because I could just add boobs to it and call it a day. But I've been thinking of, like, making Garchomp look like a Dark Souls. Nah, not Dark Souls. More like a Bloodborne character. Man, I really love Bloodborne's art style. Or art concepts. But I haven't played Bloodborne. I know it's blasphemous. But yeah, I don't even think I have ever played a Souls-like game, now that I think about it. Again, is it an open world game? Because if it's an open world game, I tend to not play those type of games. For some reason, you must draw Garchomp as a girl. Mainly because of Cynthia. It makes sense. That makes sense. It might look like a buff one. Yeah, I also have, like, a tendency on drawing women in a much more buff body type for some reason. In a much more muscly body type for some reason. And I keep doing that subconsciously. I'm probably gonna... Yeah, that probably is on me because... Back then, I started drawing, you know, dudes more. Because it's much more easier. Again, it's organic lines, man. Women are much more curvier. And since they're more curvier, it means it's much more harder. Probably muscle buddy. Well, I guess it's not gonna matter because it's gonna wear clothes. The body type doesn't matter that much once it's wearing clothes. Or the anatomy. But yeah. Oh, hold up. Let me take a water. Take a sip of water. Oh yeah, I can actually add much more shadows here. I know I'm supposed to be. I was supposed to call this done already, but looking looking a bit right now, I think I need a little bit more shadows. And what I mean by shadows, like solid inks like this. Again, this is another stylistic choice. It's really up to you if you want to add it or not, but for the most part, it's just style. And I just do this because of contrast again. Couldn't stop myself from getting a Garchomp for the Mega Ruby after the main story. Oh wait, I remember now. I replaced Haxorus with Tyranitar, not Crocodile. Still a solid pick. I mean, it's a fucking Tyranitar. You really can't go wrong with that. I actually want to also catch this one Pokemon. I forgot his name though. Someone with the armor. Forgot his name. Let's see if I can search it. Is it an Aggron? It is an Aggron. There we go. Tyranitar and Garchomp combo is OP because of the Sandstorm and Garchomp Sandveil. Sharp, Aegislash? Nah, it's Aggron. I'm actually surprised Aggron isn't a pseudo legendary. I just like Aggron because of the design. That's it. There's there's no other reason. Is it because of the skills? Is it because of the mood pool? Nah. I just like the design. It's gonna look overdone, isn't it? Oh well. That's it. Unfortunately, Aggron sucks. Yeah. I think he has too many weaknesses. He looks cool, but he couldn't deliver. I tried so many ways to make Aggron good, but it just sucks. Is his defensive stats good enough? I actually don't know. I do know that. Well, it's definitely not enough to be a pseudo legendary. Oh yeah, I forgot. Can you get a Metagross in X? Or in Gen 3? I actually forgot which one is it. Because I need to get one. Get one Metagross. Because I kinda don't like Lucario as a steel Pokemon. But that could be just like my Lucario is so underleveled. That's why the move The move pool is still a little sucky. Nah, you can't get a Bolduminex, unfortunately. Oof. Oh, I'm running out of water. What time is it? Oh, it's already 4. And we've already been streaming for 3.5 minutes. Okay. But I can get you a Beldum from Omega River if we get there, Franco. I'll try later. Or maybe tonight. Oh man, I might be only online around nighttime because after this I'm gonna take a break and eat some snacks. And sadly, Beldum is also a post-game Pokemon in Omega River. I wanted to use one in the main story. Isn't post-game pretty good on those generation? Because you can re-challenge also the some gyms and the Elite Four, I think. Or am I getting that mixed up with the other generation? Okay, hold up. I'm gonna find my signature and slap it in there. And we can call this stream finished. You can only rematch the Elite Four in Gen 6. For some dumb reason, you can't rematch any of the gym leaders in the Gen 6 games. What? That's so baffling. Because I know you, if I remember correctly, you can. Or I guess that's in different gen. That sucks. Boo. Swampert. Yeah, I spelled that right. Man, Swampert's mid-evolution is always so funny to me. And it looks super awkward in 3D. Looks terrifying. Oh, it's in, not in caps. Something happened. Oh, never mind. My eyes are just playing tricks on me. Gen 3 and 4 allows for gym rematches. Not sure about Black 2 and White 2. Actually, let me look that up. Gen 5 rematch. But it's available in X and Y. What the heck? It's because of it. No, in Gen 3 you can rematch them. What the hell? I find the Mudkip line so funny. It starts out standing on 2 legs, on 4 legs. Learns to stand up in Marshtomp and then drops back to 4 legs. Yeah, mate. I'm going back. Yeah, his mid evolution looks terrifying. He's just standing there with those eyes. Oh, it's my pen. Honestly, I really just prefer like the Pokemon's not standing at all. I really don't. Maybe it's the pose. Maybe it's because of the posing. I really don't like, the newer starting lines, especially if it's like more humanoid. Like for fuck's sake, look at Cinderace. I do like Cinderace, but holy crap. Black 2 and White 2 are not complete rematches. You can only rematch the gym leaders in the tournament. Damn. Well, I guess it's still a thing. I forgot which generation it was that has like the most post-game content. Okay. Let's just place it on the middle. Save that. Export that. My throat is killing me for some reason. It's probably because I haven't talked in a while. Let me just export and check out the colors. Okay, let's see here. Oh yeah, when it comes to color calibration, I have no clue if this is color accurate. My screen, all of my screens suck. And the only screen that I can base down of, like if it looks good or not, is my phone. Because, since I post this stuff throughout social media, and people tend to look at their phones, might as well use the phone as my standard. Mega Ruby has the most post-game content because of the Delta episode and the legendary hunts. Oh right. There's also that the Oxys plotline going on. Okay, the colors are fine. I'm gonna call this a day. Alright. Let me just export again. I'm gonna export the time lapse, because this is pretty much finished, and hopefully you guys can see it. Let's see. There we go. I was shocked to see the Oxys. Honestly, they went all out with that remake. They went super low with X and Y. And then they went up high again. Oh, and yeah, isn't black... Yeah, black and white apparently wasn't liked at the very beginning. Oh, what's your ace in Pokemon in Emerald so far? I'm actually not sure. It's probably still Blaziken. Because I'm still trying to, like... Maybe commit to a team. I think I do have a bird. there. Was it a swallow? I can. I'm so terrible at names, man. Gentry. No, it's not Swablu. He's a bird. That's all I know. It's a Halo. There we go. Well, Talo and Blaziken. Black and White wasn't liked because of the weird Poké designs. Boy, this aged so poorly. This aged so poorly with the newer Pokemon designs. Like, we have fucking ice creams. We're collecting teapots. Oh yeah, I also have a Shroomish. And I also caught an Abra. Which only has fucking teleport. It's so funny to me. I thought that Pokemon can attack me. Turns out it only teleports and flees away. So you actually need to catch it first try. Well, that's annoying. And I also have the shiny Wingull. But I'm not sure if I should keep him. But that's my team right now. A Torchic. Actually, the Torchic already evolved, so. There's a Wingull, a Shroomish. I actually like the Shroomish. I remember being pissed at Abra's teleporting that much. Yeah, the dude only has teleport. It doesn't even attack in anything. When I finally caught it, I'm like, there's no attack moves. There's nothing. It's only fucking teleport. I haven't actually used teleport just yet. Oh yeah, I also have a Ralts. 2 ones actually. One's in the box. Isn't the male one male Ralts the one that evolves to a Gallade? Yeah, it evolves into a Gallade. I also have a female one, so I can have I can also have a Gardevoir. But the good man, Ralts is so terrible though. The moveset is terrible. Keeps dying. Oh yeah, do you know how do you know of the funny troll with the Hunter trade in the cheap Gen 4 games? Hunter? If not, I don't even I don't even think I catch that many in Gen 4. Now that I think about it. I was so focused on grinding and leveling up my mons. And then once I got to the end, I got tired of grinding. Because it is so slow. The HP bars are so slow. Funny thing is, it's impossible to have a male Gardevoir. Yeah, that's why I'm like a bit hesitant. Like, does it turn to a Gallade? I'm a bit hesitant because I do heard that there's some commotion or confusion about it also. Yeah, it is possible to have a Gardevoir. But I have both, just in case. The other one's in the box first. Oh, it's almost gonna rain. How long have we been streaming? 3 and 3 minutes. Alright. Is it finished? on exporting. Let me just double check. You can see, you couldn't see it right now, but I'm just like rummaging through my files and making sure all my files are intact. And the time lapse. Yeah, there's this girl in Platinum that trains a hunter. Hunters can evolve to Gengar through trade, but that girl gives you a hunter. She reveals that the hunter has a never stone, so the hunter didn't turn into a Gengar. You little shit. Unfortunately, you can't get a Gallade in Emerald since Gallade was invented in Jetfar. Well, there you go. I have I have two Gardevoirs. I should try to find a way still to like transfer the Pokemons into like a recent one, recent file, anything, or maybe transfer it to Omega Ruby once I'm done with Gen 3. But the Ralts, yeah, the Ralts is fucking terrible. It only has confusion as a moveset or as an offense. It's so useless. I mean, my Abra is also useless because it only has teleport. But at least it can teleport. You have a Gen 4 game for Emerald and work in DS Lite. The thing is, I'm actually not sure if my DS Lite is completely broken. It really just has a faulty switch. Basically it turns off and on. So it's a faulty switch. But overall it's intact. But I haven't found it. I'm actually not sure where I put the charger. But if all things went south, maybe I'll just what was it, Pokemon Home? Can you even download that still? Actually not sure. Move my stuff. But the thing is I don't really have that much valuable in my Pokemon X collection. My Pokédex. I don't even think I have a shiny there. Cause I might have killed some shinies on my way. Cause that's the only way to transfer pokes ever that I don't know how to transfer Gen 4 to Gen 6. Yeah, the ones from Game Boy is a little bit tricky to transfer. Like super tricky. Especially if it's from a cartridge. But yeah. Anyway, that's enough of that. Sorry that we just rambled about Pokemon right here and then. But I'll try to maybe I can try to edit the stream, like have a shorter version so it's only like it's only focusing on the effects part. For you guys that just wants to see the tutorial part. And enough of the rambles. Then I have yet to find a shiny Noir. No Mega Ruby, and yet you keep killing shinies. I didn't know. I didn't even know there were shinies. Because some shinies, again, some shinies are like barely visible. Or barely have any difference from the original one. And again, it was like the early days of me playing. So I barely know. I didn't even knew that shinies were super rare and shit. And if I remember correctly, they kind of nerfed shiny chances. Not nerfed. It's more like they buffed it. They buffed the chances of getting a shiny in Pokemon Y. But I'm not sure if that's true. Or maybe I'm mixing it up again with another generation. But they're still pretty rare. The only shiny that I'll probably hunt for is like a shiny Rayquaza. Because that shiny is super cool. Like Black Air Force energy. I like it. I think it's Gen 7 and above that made shiny easier. Yeah, I think a lot of people were also complaining for some reason. Because they're like, oh, you're devaluing shinies. Like, bro, isn't this what you want? The only devalue portion that I think is like, there's barely any difference from the shinies. At least make them shinier, come on. But yeah, it's almost 4 hours, guys, and my voice is cracking. I'm gonna call it there now. I will try to edit the stream with, you know, only the tutorial portions and maybe shorten it in like a few minutes or so, so it's much more quicker to digest and all. But I'll make sure to re-upload the whole stream on my YouTube. It's also gonna be available here on Twitch for a couple of days, but I'll also re-upload it somewhere. So yeah, that's enough for me now. I gotta take a break and all that stuff. I'm probably gonna drink because I ran out of water. But yeah, that's all for today, guys. Thanks again for joining with me. And again, next time I'll add it to the Twitch schedule so you guys can get notified and stuff like that. And if you guys want to get notified, turn on the notifications either on Twitch or YouTube, all that sorts. Because next time we're gonna be dealing with fire effects. It's quite similar to this one, but you know, fire has its own quirks and stuff to take note of. So yeah, check out the next stream, and we'll see you guys next time. Have a great day, great night, and all that good stuff. Later, y'alls. Bye bye, and peace.